Marcus had always prided himself on creating memorable characters for his horror novels, but lately he'd been experiencing something impossible. Glimpses of his fictional creations lurking in the shadows of his home. It started with the pallbearer, the skeletal antagonist from his breakthrough novel, whose bony fingers he'd spotted reaching around his bedroom door one night before vanishing when he turned on the light. Then came Lysandra, the vengeful sea witch from his fantasy trilogy, who he found standing dripping wet in his kitchen at 3 a.m., her scaled skin glistening under the refrigerator light. Within a week, his living room had become an impromptu gathering place for his most terrifying creations, all watching him with knowing smiles as he desperately tried to figure out what was happening. Marcus concluded that somehow his imagination had torn through the fabric of reality, and there was only one desperate solution. He needed to write each character's death, properly this time, with such finality that they could never return. As he typed the final permanent endings for each character, they began to fade, screaming and clawing at him, but dissolving nonetheless as their fictional essence was properly concluded on the page. By dawn, his home was quiet again, the last of his creations banished back to the realm of fiction, leaving Marcus with a newfound respect for the power of his imagination. 3 weeks later, with the trauma fading into an incredible memory, Marcus began sketching ideas for his next novel, unaware that the dark shape forming in his peripheral vision was his newest creation, arriving before he'd even finished writing it. That night, Marcus realized his fatal mistake. In his latest draft, he'd written a character with the power to resurrect other fictional beings, and as he stared in horror at the army of his own creations surrounding his bed, he knew his life as a horror writer had become a nightmare from which there would be no waking.